All right, Jason, it's good to see you again.
You too, man. It was great to see you on Saturday too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. In fact, I'm kind of excited to hear about how you met your, next master, the I guess the physical masters. So
Mm-hmm.
where we last left off, you'd become a llama, you
Mm-hmm.
returned back to the United States, and you had this tea and herb business. And
Mm-hmm.
so obviously we all know you're the fiber king. So I'm assuming we're gonna figure out, how you got there. So what's kind of like, how did you get started in all this health stuff?
Okay, well, we have to rewind a while back. My grandfather and his two brothers opened up one of the first health food stores in America. At one point, they had the biggest health food store on the whole East Coast.
Okay.
So that was always in the background. My grandfather used to say he never trusted doctors, my grandfather. He lived to 91, and never went to doctors until the very end. And he said, he's like, instead of worrying about the infection, strengthen your own body's immune system. So
Nice.
he always, that was his approach. So that planted an early seed in my mind, even though, it kind of skips a generation. My parents weren't really into it, but my mom's sister, she just like during the 60s, her and her husband just went up into the Woodstock and became hippies, and they lived really natural. So, I'm living in the suburbs, but every summer we'd go up there and I would see this, and they would have like turkey hot dogs, all these weird things, that I never seen before. And so there was always this notion of like being more conscious of the food you put in your body, and it's going to affect your health. So being a little proactive about your health. Whereas in my family, and mostly my family was okay, but like around me in the 80s, it was like go like eat whatever you want, and if you have a problem, you go to the doctor and they'll patch you up, and then if you get unlucky, you know, and I actually had a bit of hypochondria because when I was growing up, everything was the AIDS epidemic, AIDS, AIDS. So it's all we heard about in kindergarten was AIDS. And I'm like, Mom, am I going to get AIDS? So there was always this, since an early age, this relationship between health and disease in my life. And and I got sick a lot as a kid, and it was just like antibiotics, this, my mom dragging me to doctors. And I started to realize that the doctors really didn't have a deep sense of understanding. They were just prescribing things and masking the symptoms. That was something, again, with my grandfather, I realized early on. So, just thought it was normal to get sick. I had mentioned earlier I had IBS, which was terrible burning in my gut. I just went to doctors. They just told me, I don't know, like they really didn't have an answer for me. Um, and then I had mentioned that I traveled and I discovered the people around the world were taking food much more seriously than Americans. And then when I got to South America, it was like herbs, and then I got into Ayurveda. And for, like about 8 years, I was following this Ayurveda regimen. But yet I was not in the perfect health. I knew I was kind of off. So then I start exploring and I discover like this, like the paleo. I start going to these health conferences and like the paleo community. And,
So how old were you when you started doing that?
um, so, so the health, this was like 30,
Okay, so
30,
this is
31.
before you went to India.
The second time, yeah, before I went to India the second time.
You're right, second time, right.
Yes,
Okay, so you
exactly.
were
Because I
already
remember,
doing this. Okay.
yes, because I remember it's funny that you say that because when I went back to India when I was about, what was it, like 30, 2000 and what was it again? 13 I went.
Yeah.
So yeah, about 33. I was I was keto when I was in India. So that we'll get back to that. So I was doing paleo, and I got so I was realizing, oh, we're missing minerals. Ayurveda, like the soil was different back then. They weren't feeding billions of people regrowing food in the same soil over and over again. So when you do that, you deplete the minerals from the soil. And what they used to do was burn wood and put the wood, and animals would die, and that would go back into the soil. So we don't do that on an industrial level. So
So
I
what do the
came
minerals do? We're missing out on minerals?
Yeah, minerals are basically, what make our whole body. They're like minerals are atoms basically. They're like the elements. So when you see a tree that's really hard, that's minerals that make the tree hard. Our bones are minerals, but even all the parts of our cells are made up of minerals. Everything really comes down to minerals. And there's a long process of how the fungi and bacteria take rock, break it down into these like ionic minerals, which are how we can absorb. So I started learning about all this stuff that ancient Ayurveda people didn't have to deal with because their soil was full of minerals. So I realized, oh, this is what I've been missing. Like I'm missing magnesium. So even though I'm following this 5,000-year-old medical system, which really taught me to think holistically. So I'll give it credit for that. But this couldn't address this modern issue. So I so I start going to these health conferences. I start taking minerals. I'm seeing some improvements, and then I fall into this paleo thing, and I wind up, eating nothing for 1 year. I ate nothing but meat, uh, green vegetables, berries, raw eggs, and whey protein. That's all I ate for a year.
For 1 year.
Yeah. Thinking, and again, it did not, of course you see improvements, there is short-term benefits to these keto diets, but I never got rid of the IBS. It just kept like it was burning. I'm like, okay, I'm just never going to get rid of this. So, and then from the paleo, I moved into the keto. So now I'm like putting butter in my tea. You might have heard of the butter coffee, drinking tons and tons of butter, coconut oil, just like tons of fats, you know, and feeling tired a lot, but just like, oh, I'm not doing it good enough. And then the next step was like the carnivore diet. It just kept getting more like, just nothing but meat now. That was where it all moved into. And this guy, Dr. Gundry, he came up with this thing that the plants are trying to kill us because they have no defenses. They don't have any claws to defend them, so they put toxins. It was like this whole thing. But so during
So how
lockdown,
long, so how long, so first of all, did any of that help your IBS?
no,
Okay. And so how long did you do all this?
that's 7 years,
Oh
seven,
my
8 years.
goodness. So we were up to like you're 40 by now.
Yeah, I was 40 exactly. It was like during the lockdowns. And keep in mind, um, I love cooking. I'm a chef. So going into the keto diet and then like all of the foods that traveled around the world studying these traditional foods I thought were now bad for me.
Right.
Like grains and all these humble, which I found out later, you'll find out are the healthy foods. I was stopping to eat them. So I'm eating like this boring diet. So my creative outlet has always been cooking. So it was just not there for a while. It was
So
just kind
you're
of
a miserable Buddhist monk at this point, huh?
exactly. Exactly.
So what did you do during lockdown?
So yeah, during the lockdowns, that's a great question. Where were you during lockdown, right? Like what did you do during lockdown? So what I did was like, well, first of all, health was in the air. So there was all these debates going on Facebook. And I was telling everybody from day one, like, improve your immune system, take vitamin D. Um, but so what I was doing was going on LinkedIn and connecting with like 100 people per week. I was just connecting with doctors and just hearing, what are you guys doing? Like what, like now we have time. Let me hear because again, the IBS was still there, and I just knew intuitively that I have not found the right way to eat. There was like something off, even though I'm reading all these popular doctor books. So connected with many people talking about stem cell patches and supplements. And by the way, at this point, when I was on the keto, I was taking 100 supplements a day, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, so they do work, and it was counteracting all of the fats and stuff that I was eating. But so I was relatively healthy, but yeah, so I was connecting with all these people. Finally, I connect with someone. Her name's Dr. Shanhong Lu. And she looked interesting. She had a funny picture up on her LinkedIn. We connected. She wrote me back like, "Oh, looks like you traveled a lot. Would love to tell stories together." I was like, "Yeah." And then I got in touch with her. We got on a call, and she just pulls up this. Can I show you my? She's like, "Can I show you my PowerPoint presentation?" I'm like, "Sure." and she goes through her journey, and I'm like, wow, this is very similar to me. And then she showed me her testimonials, like her results, before and after pictures of all these people. I'm like, wow, what is she doing? And then she drops the bomb on me, like what everybody's missing is these environmental toxins. So, all these toxins that our great grandparents didn't have to deal with. So I was like, the light bulb went off. First, I was like, yeah, modern man is missing the minerals. Now she's saying, not only do you have minerals, but missing minerals and vitamins, but we're also having these toxins which cause all types of trouble that nobody's talking about. Everybody's arguing about the diet, and she's like, can't even talk about diet until you get the toxins. So I was like, wow, I never thought of that. And she's, MD, PhD, she's brilliant. She goes away for 2 weeks, and I'm just thinking about her every day. I'm like, wow, like I gotta talk. I can't wait to talk to her again. She comes back. I'm like, can we get on a call? Can we get on a call? We get on a call. And this was an interesting call because, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board with your protocol. But then we get into this debate about something, and I was just so impressed at how she handled it. Like she just had the facts, the research, every single thing. And finally, I get off the call, because what she told me was to go on a whole food plant-based diet. She's like, that's the best way to remove the toxins. And I was like, no way, that can't be true. So then she said, try for 10 days. So I go on a retreat up in Asheville for 10 days, and I agree to try her whole protocol with the whole food plant-based diet. I was ready to do her whole protocol. The whole food plant-based diet part, I was not on board with. But I did it thinking my IBS was going to get worse, and it got better.
Really?
Yeah.
So what happened? Like, how quickly did it get better?
So basically, yeah, like again, I'm eating all these foods that I was afraid of eating for like 7 years now. And now, so yeah, my IBS got better in about like 5 days. Like for the first time, like I woke up like no burning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So what happened? You kept doing it for 10 days and then what?
Yeah, so I'm up there and I'm also using other of her products, her protocol, which was it was giving me all these. It's like for your pineal, for your pituitary gland. So I'm feeling like, better than ever from the food. So I'm like this. So I'm like, what is going on here? So I start doing the research into the whole food plant-based diet, and it was like the blinders were gone. It was like, the internet. I don't know how these algorithms work, or maybe I do, but they're focusing on a very specific, you know, agenda that's very popular and that's what you see in your feeds. But when you actually look at the research out there, the overwhelming evidence is pointing to the whole food plant-based diet. And I'm like, how did I not see this? And it's fascinating how consciousness works. It's like how, the when you're not when you're convinced of something, you are not going to see the evidence. Once I was willing to be wrong, because that's why I love this story because like Dr. Lu she just completely defeated me in the debate, and that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I really want people to understand that is that when you lose a debate, when you're wrong about something, that means you've been doing something wrong all this time, and if you put it into practice, you should see an improvement in your life.
I like to say, the only way to become more right is find out where you're wrong and change it.
Exactly.
So that's the only way to grow. So did this mean you could eat all those foods that you were eating all around the world,
I
or?
mean, it was like one of the happiest moments of my life. That whole summer, I was just going to the health food store up in Asheville, the co-op, and buying all these food, brown rice. I haven't eaten brown rice in like 7 years. Fruits. And it was like, and people say like, oh, the whole food plant-based diet is restrictive. Yeah, I gave up like chicken, fish, meat, cheese, like 7 to 10 things. And now I open myself up to thousands of things because like there's thousands of beans. There's like thousands of types of potatoes. I wasn't eating potatoes. They're too high in carbs. Now I eat carbs every day. I lost, like when I was doing the keto stuff, I would lose weight. I would lose like belly fat. It would come back. It's actually keto, you lose a lot of water weight. There's a lot of problems. We could talk to Dr. Lou about that, but I was losing fat in places I didn't even know I could lose fat in. My mood was improving. I'm producing more serotonin. I now know because that's what happened next was I was like, what is going on? And that's when I discovered the fiber. And that was another one of the light bulb moments.
Okay, so Dr. Lu is your third master here, I assume,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So she's not a fraud,
Right.
obviously, you
Right.
know.
Because I didn't trust doctors. And I meet her, like, she like healed my entire relationship with doctors. Like after I told her that like a couple months after knowing her, like I hated doctors and now I see them as people, like, and like you're like a superhuman. And since
So
her, I had so many doctor friends. I even dated a doctor for a while. So yeah,
there you go. She cured you of your doctor
phobia.
prejudice. So phobia, there you go. Maybe that's a better word. So what was her background?
Oh man, she's amazing. She grew up in Beijing and her grandmother was like a Chinese medicine doctor. Her mother was like the most famous cardiologist in China.
Oh wow.
So she grew up like in the shadow, like she says, of her mom, who was like, prestigious and brilliant. And she became a doctor, and she became an internist, like a general doctor. And her mom like looked down upon her. She's like, "Oh, you should specialize. It's more prestigious." But she just knew, no, I want to do this. She did it. She came to America and got a PhD. So most doctors don't study. They study for medical school, which is like, as you probably know, is like staying up all night. It's like the person who invented the curriculum for medical school was actually on cocaine, was a cocaine addict.
Really?
So it makes a lot of sense when you see what they go through, and it's horrible. It's real. I mean, let's not even go there now, but she went on to get a PhD to really understand the science of what's going on in the cells, physiology. And then she even got a postgrad in genetics.
Oh, nice.
So she really genuinely wants to understand health, right? And disease and help people. So she started off in a hospital. I'm pretty sure this is the correct order. She was in a hospital and just watching people come in and realizing like we don't really have much to help these people with. So she's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start my own private practice and I'm going to really get to the bottom of health. So she opened up her own place. She hires like 5 people and a lot of overhead. And she's spending a lot of time with people, asking them what they're taking, really curious about what's working and what's not. And she's a great researcher. So she's taking notes. And she basically lost all her money, basically, because she's spending so much time with people. And, the whole way the system is set up, like if you're working in a hospital, you have 15 minutes with a patient. You're expected to see 10, 12 patients a day, to get that hospital salary. So she was not doing that. So then one of her patients, she was like, look, you're so sick, I can't help you. She like sent her away. Sorry, I can't help you. She came back like a few months later, completely better. She's like, what did you do? And then she introduced her to this company who has this product which takes the toxins out. So the company already existed. They had this product which was working, but she became obsessed and became basically like the world's leading researcher on what these toxins, when I say toxins, I mean when you go into a new car and you get that new car smell, that's toxins,
Right,
right?
right,
What you're seeing them spray on the grass, there used to be things called dandelions. Now you don't see dandelions. That's toxins,
right.
drinking out of a water bottle, that's toxins.
So what does she do today? Like she still have the clinic?
No,
What is
so
she
she
doing?
managed to team up with this company that has these products and basically before the lockdowns, this is like 15 years before the lockdown, she became like a health coach, like telehealth. That became popular. So she
Yeah.
was working with people. She didn't need a practice because she found a way to measure the toxins and help people take the toxins out.
And
And she's
she's
connected to many doctors. Like she'll connect if someone has cancer, she'll connect with their oncologist and work with their oncologist if they're open, which a lot of the times they're not.
and so she's wildly rich and lives in Beverly Hills.
Right. Well, that's the amazing thing about her too, and why she's such a role model, is she she's one of the exemplars of the earth, of the physical, mastery, the physical bliss. in the sense that she has this perfect balance of having enough money to live comfortably, having tons of free time. She does in the winter 2 hours of skiing, cross country skiing, 2 hours in the summer of bike riding. She lives up in the mountains, and and she helps people. She genuinely,
Nice.
like, not many people in this world, especially in the medical world, can genuinely say that they're actually healing people. Very few
Right.
people in the healing industry. Again, going back to the keto and the paleo, there's all these people making a lot of money with health products. It's like $1 trillion industry. And that's why, like, when I found her and the whole food plant-based diet, because I'd been private chefing, nutritional consultation, I was doing all these things, but I'm like, I still have the IBS. Like, I'm not really that. Who am I to be coaching others? But that's what most people are doing. They're not,
Mhm.
the therapist not fix themselves, but they're trying to fix. When I met her and I got on her protocol for the first time, I'm like, wow, I feel healthy. I feel like this is something that I can genuinely. And this has been 5 years already, and it's just, yeah, every day grateful for her.
She sounds totally worthy to be mentioned alongside Jim and Geshe-la.
Absolutely. Oh yeah,
Like
and she's
they,
compassionate and spiritual and funny. Yeah,
that's awesome. So then I gotta hear this about the toxins. What was she saying specifically? Now remember, I'm a chemical engineer, so I
absolutely.
give it to me. What was she saying about
Yeah,
the
so
toxins?
so like these BPAs, these things in plastic, actually, which are extracted, as you know, from petroleum, right? All the plastic comes from petroleum. Although you can make it out of hemp and other things, most of it's coming from petroleum. So it resembles estrogen, and estrogen's a growth hormone. So one of the countless bad things that these toxins do is they imitate estrogen, which makes you grow, which means like putting on weight, putting on fat. So one of the things that these things are doing is that. Another thing, it's feminizing men. It's also increasing breast cancer in women because too much estrogen, again, estrogen grows tumor cells. So that's one of the things it does. It also, it messes up our microbiome because glyphosate is like an antibiotic. So yeah, it does. It
Okay,
does
glyphosate is the Roundup
is
thing.
the
That's the
Roundup. Yeah, which
Roundup,
is
the
the
weed
most
killer
sprayed.
thing.
It's the most sprayed
Okay.
chemical in the world. Like you could look it up. Like hundreds of billion, hundreds of like billions of tons sprayed every year. It's everywhere.
Okay, and what does that do now? What's that doing to us?
The glyphosate. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's it's like I said, it like I think Dr. Lu said there's like four main bad things it does. One of the things it does is that in the glyphosate represents glycine. So our gut lining, glycine is very important, which is why the paleo guys are drinking the bone soup, but you don't need to do that. But um, so one of the things that glyphosate does is it messes up with the glycine in our gut, in our colon, which causes that leaky gut, which is the whole problem I had talked about earlier. Um, Another thing it does is it's an antibiotic, so it kills microbiome. Like simple terms, I mean, they've lost lawsuits. Monsanto has lost billions of dollars in lawsuits for cancer.
Yeah.
So even though we know it causes
Right.
all these things, they're still able to do it. They're so powerful.
So you said she had something to remove the toxins?
Exactly. So remember, I'm taking 100 supplements, right?
Right.
And she showed me basically like two, three supplements that you could take, that were the most important. And one of them, again, I eat very clean. I eat all organic. I filter I have like reverse osmosis water. So I'm doing everything I can to be as clean as possible. I am still loading up with toxins every day, right? So but the good news is you could say like God, the universe always gives us what we need. The answer is always there no matter what. So this Harvard Nobel Prize like nominee scientist uh, came up with this formula based on something called calcium deglucarate, which is something our liver makes to deal with these toxins. And again, our body also makes extra estrogen. So we've been dealing with that estrogen before, but now we have all these toxins which imitate the estrogen. So this calcium deglucarate in this product, it's a natural thing your body makes, but by taking a high dose of it, it allows your body to take the toxins that are inside the cell. Think about the cell, right? Like the cell isn't tiny, but there's like like not trill, sorry, there's thousands, tens of thousands of parts inside the cell, every
Yeah.
single cell.
Yep.
So these toxins, like glyphosate, that's another thing they do. They get into the cell. Now it's harder for the cell to move things around. It's like imagine having furniture, like a hoarder, right? Like you have all this stuff. So it's hard to get that out of your cells. So what the calcium deglucarate does is it makes the toxins water soluble, these fat soluble toxins, so they're able to be pulled out of the cell. But then the next step is the
Oh.
fiber.
So the
This is
toxins
why,
are oil soluble. They come from petroleum-based
okay,
stuff. Yeah.
exactly.
And yeah, your cells are actually are a thin layer of oil, so they just go right
Exactly.
through.
So this calcium
Oh.
deglucarate, like I don't know the chemistry, but it attaches to the cell,
Yeah,
somehow
chelator,
makes it,
yeah.
yeah, exactly, like a chelation. And then the other part of it though, this is why Dr. Lu said the whole food plant-based diet. But I took it like I got obsessed with that because I'm the food guy. But why? But because keep in mind, like she is the environmental toxin. That's her purpose. Like that's her calling. So if you're not getting enough fiber, if you're doing a keto diet, a low carb diet, you're getting very little fiber. So you pull it out of your cell, right? You pull the toxins out of your cell. Now it goes into into your colon, I believe, and you need, yeah, it goes into the colon and you need the fiber to now pull it out. If there's not enough fiber, it's going to get reabsorbed back into your body. So that's why
Okay,
she
so this is a
rec
1-2 punch here. Nice.
exactly.
Nice. So then, okay, wow. So now I see the benefit of this whole. So tell me about the whole food or whole plant and the fiber.
Yeah, so that was what's so
Well, you're
cool.
the fiber king, so
Exactly. So
tell
this is how I
me.
became the fiber king. So she got me that far, right? She made me, she popped the bubble. Now I'm like, okay, whole food plant-based diet's the way to go. Why is this working? I did not know how deep this was going to go. I knew I was feeling better. Then I discovered this book called Fiber Fueled. So I'm still thinking like a keto person. I'm like, okay, I gave up, meat and dairy, but I'm still going to eat like a lot of oil. I'm still going to do kind of keto. This book called Fiber Fueled, this gastroentomologist, another doctor, doing research in the colon, looking at colon cancer, and he's looking at the research himself. He went to medical school. He never saw this research. You go to a gastroentomologist with gut issues, they're not even going to ask you what you're eating. They're just going to put you on drugs and do tests
Yeah.
on you. So this guy is a perfect example. He admitted that, but his wife was like a vegetarian, so like he's like, let me look into the research, and he starts finding out how important fiber is. And the last like 15 years, this is brand new. I mean, 15 years is new because it takes that long for it to reach like, the common person, but the the importance of how every different plant food you eat, whole food, has different fibers, and those fibers feed a different microbiome, a different bacteria. So when you eat different, like he says in the book, like the more diverse plant foods you eat, the more diverse your microbiome is. So can I tell you a story
Yeah,
about the microbiome?
absolutely.
So this is one of my
Absolutely.
favorite stories. Is like, you and I talk about a generative community, right? Like imagine a community where like everybody like living naturally, communally, everybody's talking, communicating, the kids are playing, telling stories, playing games, dancing, very healthy. And what makes this community generative or so unique is that every being has a unique purpose and they're encouraged to bring out their purpose and contribute. And before you know it, like all of us have unique gifts, but our society wants us all to kind of be the same. So when everybody can contribute their uniqueness, even if this person, we would say they're weird, they have something to contribute. Before you know it, we have something greater than the sum of the parts. We're able to create something so amazing. So we could do that on a human level, but that is happening. That nature designed that to happen in our guts. So we have, okay, we have more bacteria and fungi living in our guts than the rest of the human cells in our entire body. There's 10 times more bacteria cells, 10 times more genetic data in our guts than the entire rest of our human body. It's crazy.
That is
And
crazy.
what they do, we will never be able to do the research. It's just too much. But we do know that they like fiber. And when they eat the fiber, they proliferate and push out the bad bacteria, fix your gut, turn your DNA on and off, like all of the things you don't want. Cancer, they turn down those genes, boost the immune system. They create something called butyrate, which gets into the lungs, which is why, you know, people who are on the plant-based diet got much less severe reaction to COVID. Now they're showing it goes into the brain, the blood-brain barrier, there's butyrate. So Alzheimer's protection. So yeah, fiber is like this humble nutrient. We always talk about fats, proteins, and carbs. Fiber is technically a carb. It's just a carb we don't digest, but our bacteria. I mean, I could talk about this forever, but yeah.
So the thing, when you taught this to me, um, my version of teaching it to people, because I'm an engineer, is I said, if you think about it, you are like a cylinder, really.
Mm-hmm.
You are like this thing that has a hollow tube in you.
Yes, yes.
So it starts from your mouth and the other end. Everything inside of that is technically not you.
Yes, it's the outside.
It's the outside. It's the inside. It's the outside of this on your inside, just like a
Exactly.
tube would be. That's the outside.
Right.
So you have living in within your tube things that aren't you, but you're in control of the makeup of what's in there. And that's that microbiome.
Yeah, they don't
And
have
so,
arms and legs, so we have to walk around and feed them. But they're a brain. They actually send signals and can tell us things like what to eat and
well,
stuff.
so I like, man, this has got to be like 20 years ago. I remember seeing some research about this, and I wonder if this is what explains it. But I used to tell people 20 years ago, whatever you eat today, your body is going to crave that tomorrow. And I
100%.
thought, being a chemist, it's something in the chemistry of the body,
Uh,
but you're telling me it's something really in the
well,
biology.
it's probably in the chemistry, but absolutely. I'll even tell you a funny story about that. Like, I never really liked spinach. Just didn't like the taste of it. You know, if you cook it certain ways, I would like it, but raw spinach never. And I started doing these smoothies with blueberries, a lot of spinach, some dates, and I would blend it up and drink it. And it was delicious. And I felt so good after eating because you're getting so much nutrients. And before you know it, after a month, I start craving spinach. I start liking spinach because by eating the spinach, I'm creating the bacteria that like spinach. And they're
Well,
telling me, give me more of that. And my brain up here is really like kind of more dependent, more subservient to the brain down here. Is telling me, go get that spinach. And that's, yeah.
yeah, it's making us uncomfortable like that. So the thing is that what's your number one thing you tell people if they want to start improving their biomes tomorrow? What's the number one thing they could do?
Eat an apple or
Okay,
two.
what's an apple do?
So the skin of the apple, don't take the skin off. I mean, there's a lot of benefits in the apple also. There's another fiber called pectin, incredibly beneficial. But the skin has a fiber which feeds the keystone bacteria, meaning like the bacteria that all the other bacteria depend on. It's called the Akkermansia, and they like apple skins and cranberries and pomegranates, but those are a little bit more expensive and hard to get. An apple, you can get it. You eat the skin, it feeds that bacteria, and that bacteria, the Akkermansia, it creates this mucosal lining which protects the gut. So people having gut issues, by IBS, right? Like
Right.
the apple really helped with that. But what happens is the other bacteria. So I said there's like 10 times more bacteria. So rough estimate, like 30 trillion of these bacteria. Some people say 300 trillion, but like living in the gut, right? Um, out of the and they've identified like 32,000 different species of bacteria. So the Akkermansia species creates this mucosal lining, which all of the other bacteria live inside of and eat. So,
Wow.
and the interesting thing too is human breast milk, you would think we think it's full of fat because we think of a cow. Human breast milk is actually very low in fat. It's very high in fiber, actually, and it has this fiber called HMO, they call it, human milk oligosaccharides. The oligosaccharides is a type of prebiotic, which is basically fiber. So the breast milk has this fiber which breeds the acromantia, which is why it's important. Now they're putting it into formula, but if
Oh,
you're not
nice.
breastfed, you're missing this fiber which feeds the acromantia. So
And you got a degree in biology, right?
I have a minor in biology,
My
yeah.
honor in biology. So you mentioned about the cell. I always joke that I went to school so long ago that there was four parts of the cell, and that's all we had to
Right.
memorize in biology, right? And then I read these books about what's really going on in the cell today, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't have to learn that now. I was not a biology person. So not being a biology person, I have one question I have to ask you about all this is what percent of your digestion is coming from the biome
Oh
versus
my
like your
God.
saliva and your stomach and all that.
I just learned this. The most diverse biomass ever discovered on the entire planet is inside the human colon.
Okay.
So humans are very interesting creatures, you know. I didn't know this until last year that compared to a gorilla, a chimpanzee, any animal, they all have microbiomes. Everything has a microbiome, you know. But humans have the most complex microbiome. So we have basically outsourced most of our digestion to these bacteria. I don't know the percentage. I know
Okay.
that
But
in the
more
stomach,
more than 50%, you're
I would
saying.
say so, yeah.
Wow.
When people say, oh, and that's why these allergy tests are kind of like bogus. You take an allergy test, or oh, I have this gene, I can't break this down. You're not breaking it down really. We can't even break down cellulose. Cellulose is how you break down fiber. It's all the bacteria. So it's almost like it's brilliant almost. Like we have the gene to produce the enzyme, but it just got turned off in humans. So, but the interesting thing is it's almost like by
Otherwise, we
having
could be eating grass. Is that what you're saying?
we can eat grass because we don't produce that enzyme. I mean, like that's why cows can eat grass because
Right.
they
That's what I
produce.
mean. If that was on, then we could eat
Oh
grass.
yes, exactly. But we have because of we can eat grass because we it forced us to eat these diverse things. So we have a completely different gut, which means a different gut brain, which means we have a completely different whole thing. But so I don't know about the percentage, but I know that our stomach acid breaks things down, right? And then our small intestine is where the proteins are broken down into parts. But as far as the absorption goes, I think it's way more than 50%. Like it's all getting broken down, but then they're the ones who are actually digesting it and then putting it into our bodies.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. I know you could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
Is there anything else before we look again at Dr. Lou real quick? Is there anything else?
With the microbiome and well, I was gonna say, so my IBS got better. I started losing
Ah.
weight. And I've always my whole life fluctuated in weight. I would lose some, I would gain some. And I still fluctuate a little bit, but it's way better.
So how did you get into, is this when you started cooking for people and
Oh,
doing your
right.
programs or
Yes.
is
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I wanted to just say that, like, not only did my health improve in so many ways, energy, I stopped needing to take a nap in the middle of the day. Like, and now I understand why, because you feed your microbiome fiber 2 hours after you eat a big thing of rice and whole grains and beans, they break it down. You get another boost of energy because you you can get 20% of your if you're eating high fiber diet, you're getting an extra 20% of energy from calories without the weight gain from the calories. So it's just amazing. So yeah, eat the apple. And then the second thing, the A's and B's. Eat the apple, that feeds the Akkermansia A, and then eat beans, that feeds the bifida, the second most important type of bacteria. So apple,
any kind of bean or
the like Dr. B says in that book Fiber Fueled, eat is the more diverse you can get. So black beans 1 week, kidney beans. Like today, yesterday I made red lentils, and I just wanted to say though that my health got better, my mood got better. But then I've been doing Buddhism and meditation for at this point 20 years. At that point, almost 20 years, and um, stop when I stopped eating the animal products. I realized like this is a more compassionate diet. Start looking at animals and knowing like I'm not even taking your eggs. I have nothing to do with it. My meditation got better. I just felt so much more loving. I felt like, oh, now I don't have to, create a story around why it's okay for me to exploit this animal. Now I know that like this is one of God's creatures and I don't have to eat it. So it improved my
Nice.
mood. So what happened also during this is, I guess, lockdowns were kind of ending, and I'm in Florida, so we had the least lockdowns, but we're still kind of getting out of it. I'm on LinkedIn, and now I'm like fired up because now I discovered the whole food plant-based diet. I found the diet I've been looking for since I'm 15 years old.
Yeah.
And now I'm on LinkedIn again. Now I'm connecting with all of the plant-based doctors because before it was mostly the keto doctors. Then I met Dr. Lu, and now I'm connecting with all the plant-based doctors. And they're doing like these webinars all the time because everyone's in lockdown. So there was a webinar in the UK. I was on a bunch of them. I go to this webinar in the UK, and great bunch of doctors talking, and I'm always there with these doctors, and they're talking about all the stuff about how important whole food plant-based and fiber is, and you can reverse diabetes and blah blah. And whenever at the end someone would be like, "So how do you make this food?" They'd be like, I don't know, like you take some oats and you can just." None of the doctors, they knew it, but they weren't living it. So I thought to myself, like, I can
Well, they
make
didn't have
protein.
your experience, your grandma experience either.
Exactly. That was the whole point. I'm a chef. Yes, I have a background in because at this point I had you mentioned the tea business. I did that for a while, but I was private chefing. I was cooking at events.
Okay.
That's how I was making money, was doing private chefing for a lot of that time. And so I'm like, oh, and now I'm excited. I'm cooking all this new food. So I said to them, actually, one of the doctors was like, "Hey, Jason, you want to give us a lesson?" And when she said that, the light bulb went off. It triggered. I'm like, I can make a program, an online program to teach people how to do these how to not just learn, because people always say, "Can you give me a recipe?" What my program does is it teaches you everything from how to shop. Like if you're in America, I have a list of all the stores to buy everything in, but also who has time to cook, follow a recipe every day? I don't have that time, and I love cooking. So what I teach in my program is there's 8 parts. Each one of these 8 parts you could make in 2 hours a week, like, or 2 hours, let's say for 5 days. You can make everything for the week in 2 hours. So we're going to do the dressing. We're going to make the beans. Beans will last in the fridge 4 days, right? So we're going to make a big thing of beans, potatoes, sweet potatoes, fermented vegetables, sprouts, whole grain like millet and rice, and the pickled onions. So if you get in the flow and you take my program and you do this, and the way I teach in my program is we're going to do one piece at a time. People are like, give me the recipes. Like, no recipes. Eat whatever you're eating. I'm just going to introduce you to one new thing. Some people get this, some people don't. Like, all we're going to do this week is make the dressing, and you're going to put the dressing on a bunch of different things. Week 2, we're going to make the beans, and you're going to put the beans in the thing, and you're going to put the dressing on it. Week 3, we're going to make the potatoes. Now you're going to add the
Yes.
potatoes to it. So by week 8, each one of these things takes 5 minutes to do. So if you understand how to do all of them, you have a Sunday. You're like, oh, I don't have time to cook. I don't have money. By the way, a whole food plant-based diet, meaning cooking the way I do, you save 50% off your grocery bill. Because it's beans are like 250 a pound. And when you cook them, they you're getting like pounds of beans. It's like huge. So it's all these myths that it's expensive. But 2 hours, you got the beans cooking, you're making the dressing, you got the sour. You could do the whole thing in 2 hours.
The whole approach is Buddhism, though. Because
I
what you're
know.
doing is you're slowly changing, each week one thing. You're changing a habit, you're growing in this way. I love how like everything you've lived is all come together in this food program, really, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And all you have to do once you have all those foods in the fridge, right?
Hmm.
You take it out, you get a big bowl and you scoop out the beans, 5 minutes. All you have to do is chop up the apple because you put the apple. That's one of the first ingredients in the
Nice.
salad. And you've tried the salad, so you know it. I put the
Yeah, no,
apples
I've
in.
tried to sell. I was eating apples a year ago. I was reading all this stuff. So
Nice.
when we you first talked about it, I was like, oh, I saw the research and then you backed it up. So I've been doing the apple thing, but yeah, throw an apple in there too. Absolutely.
And then you could just make a bowl, 5 minutes. You're on the go. You just make a bowl, and then you want to make a hot meal. You have the beans already cooked. You have the potatoes already cooked. Throw it in a pan, add some sauce. You can make a soup. I mean, it's just
Awesome.
yeah,
This is amazing. So let's talk about Dr. Lu.
sure.
So she's the earth or the physical master, and in the
Mhm.
Wheel of Bliss, we have those three questions. Again, this obviously all 12 would apply to her, but I just like to look at the ones that
Right.
correspond. So in Earth, it's a lot about business and everything.
Mhm.
So what goods or services did you receive essentially from her to reach your highest potential?
Yeah, I like to say the earth is the health and wealth.
Health and
So
wealth. Nice.
obviously the health part, my whole life
Yeah, you got your IBS is gone. Yeah.
yeah, the IBS is gone. I mean, I thank her every day. I think about her every day. I love telling the story. Um, but the wealth part, yeah, like I said, she was a role model of someone who, like, that's what I want. Like, she's got abundance. Like, the earth element also is abundance. It's like having just the right amount, not more, not less than you need. Everything you need to just be like, I got everything I need. I'm content. Earth is connected to contentment. So, so she lives in flow and yeah, we're business partners. So, like I've introduced her. I
Well,
brought
this
to
gets into so what have
yeah,
you given to her?
right. So I've given to her. I introduced her to people, and we've done. I've set up events where she's come and spoken at. She came to Florida a couple times, and we go on tour together. We go to different
Oh,
places,
nice.
and we're getting better and better at it. And but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, and we're friends, and we give each other like personal advice. So it's like I said, like all my mentors and my close friends, we're connected on all four. But
Right.
like you
Yeah,
said,
absolutely.
but with
Absolutely.
her, like the real teaching is like I said, yeah. What I was saying, and this leads to the next part is that she gave me the blueprint on how to live a life of abundance. How to have most important thing to abundance is health. If you don't have health, you have no abundance. So she
Right.
gave me that part, and then the second part, like I said, she gave me the possibility and the formula to live a good life. I took it too far though because I thought that I need to help people with their health. But I realized after meeting you and doing the work with Flow that really my purpose is more about going back to my roots in the Buddhism and the psychology.
Right. So the last question in the community is, who are your business partners you can trust? Obviously, her. You're a business partner with her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we've worked together. We get it. It's great. Yeah, she's like one of my business like ideal business relationships that I want to have more of.
Nice, nice.
Just like a
So
mutual
yeah, so
beneficial, like she looks out for me, like I look out for her. She'll meet someone, Jason, I got this person you got to meet. I do it for her. It's just very fluid.
right. So you've created this health and this food business, and you give presentations to people. You're the fiber king. It
Mhm.
all your whole life is pulled together. So you're all set, right? There's nothing more to the story, right?
Well, like I said, there is more. That's where the flow came in. That going back to that, my real passion.
Awesome. So we'll talk about that next time.
Absolutely.
Oh, this was amazing. I would love to meet Dr. Lou. She sounds amazing.
Oh, you definitely will. Definitely will. I'm gonna
Sounds
get
good.
all the mentors together. That's gonna be awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks.
Thank you, John. Have an awesome day.
You too.